me? I hope. Yep, I think it's okay. Okay, everybody. Today is 960 days. 960 days since Richard vanished from the barracks there at Fort Bliss in El Paso, Texas. And something happened. Richard wasn't okay with it. Richard wasn't okay with it, and he was retaliated continuously and severely until the day that he disappeared. Um, he went over and above the chain of command, which is something very daring to do when you're in the military because you're always supposed to go through the chain of command. But if you don't trust the chain of command, then you have to go to somewhere where you think you can trust. He went to Child Protective Services. Don't laugh. He did. He thought that they could be trusted. Um, but, a lot of us, we know that they can't be trusted. Um, just now, we had children dying this last month under the care of Child Protective Services. And not an accident, okay? So, but he went to Child Protective Services. He didn't know better. He grew up in Germany and in Ireland. So the culture here in the United States was new to him, even though he's an American. His father, 30-year veteran. Long story why we were over in Europe for so long. But he didn't know. And so the IG were all over the barracks because, and maybe they do some good things, you see, because the IG were all over the barracks because of Halliday. So they must have, followed some kind of standard operating procedure to look into it. And Richard didn't make friends that way because he was absolutely, continuously, and severely retaliated against until the day that he disappeared for doing that. Now, if you see children being abused, why aren't you a hero when you report it? When you see child sex trafficking going on, why aren't you a hero when you report it? When you see child sex porn being produced and then sold and then broadcast and then airdropped to people's phones, and you report it, why aren't you a hero for reporting it? Don't people want crime to be stifled, to be restricted, to be punished? Right? That's what's going on. We have we're back at Augustine, right? We're back at Augustine, where St. Augustine, some people say Augustine, some people say Augustine, where he says a land without justice is just a criminal syndicate, is just a band of robbers, okay? So that's where, I don't know if we're fully there yet, but that's the direction. That's a larger, we can absolutely say that our leadership is in that place. So why is that important, and why do I want to talk about Darwin today? Because the title of this live stream is Patricia Halliday Talks About Darwin in the Case of Find Richard Halliday. Well, Darwin's book, and I can post that up. I think I have that on here. Let's see, where did I put that? Darwin's book. Yep, there it is. So there's Darwin's book, and it's called On the Origin of Species by Means of Natural Selection or the Preservation of Favored Races in the Struggle for Life. So right there in the title, it's totally racist, because in his mind, he's thinking that only the tough survive, only the strong survive, the survival of the fittest. And so you have a very racist statement, you have a very racist book, you have a very misled conclusion, because the conclusion is that things are fluid, that things are changing, right? That things change, that things are fluid, and that things are in a cycle and not a cycle because things are always changing, always fluid. Nothing's to be trusted because it can be changed. And so this is really, really important, because this ideology, this thinking, has been just taught to us, shoved down our throat, and is the foundation of the scientific world. Not of George Washington Carver, who did so much good, absolutely so much good, and many others. Matter of fact, I wanted to put on Cowan tonight, and I'll mention him. Maybe I'll find him, but which is absolutely stunning. Maybe I'll make a separate video with Cowan, because it's so important what he laid out today or yesterday about what's going on in science. So before Darwin, you had a sure thing. You knew what justice was. You could trust it. You knew that people were, I have books and books and books of antique books that are pre-Darwin, of celebrating the people around the world. It's amazing. And their cultures, their different cultures. And then we also had, don't forget, we had solid money. This is another thing that has been affected by Darwin, and people don't put two and two together. So we have the survival of the fittest and the fluid world, the changing world. That's what he brought. That's what he brought into our modern lives. And it is the modern life, because I have old school books where you can go and do your measurements, your currency measurements, and they're all in gold and silver and copper, nickel, and they were stable. They were trustworthy. And so like a crown would be worth so much of a dollar, and it would stay that way. There wasn't this inflation. There wasn't this FX market where every second the euro is worth different than the United States dollar or the Australian dollar or the British pound. You did not have that fluctuation. You did not have that fluidity. You had something stable and trustworthy. You knew it. And what that does is, when you have something stable, then you're on a linear road to progress, because you have something stable. You have morals that you know are stable, laws that are stable, money that is stable. Right now, China is making a deal, I think, with Saudi Arabia to sell the oil in their yuan. Oh well, they'll print their yuan. Uh, we're printing our printing is not really the modern word anymore. It's digitizing. Um, so they can manipulate the powers that be, our money. They've and our taxes are showing how they want to um, make up for all the digitizing. They want to tax the exact same amount. I think it's, what is it, $3 trillion. $3 trillion, because they had to, the banks, the Federal Reserve Bank had to buy $3 trillion in treasury to make up for all the spending. And you know it's all fake, it's all an illusion, but it's reality, because we're all hypnotized into the fakery. And it's amazing how uh, this fluidity, people think it's freedom, people think change is good, and I'm not saying all changes is bad. I'm saying the stability is very important. Definitions are very important. Weight is very important. Length is very important. Time is very important. And for us to think that Darwin's The Origin of Species is going to progress us forward, when all it does is create total chaos. Total chaos, because nothing is dependable. Everything is fluid. Everything changes. A frog is not a frog. A chicken's not a chicken. A chicken is a dinosaur, right? a chicken is a dinosaur, and a ape is a human being, and a fish turns into to an alligator, and an alligator turns into whatever. However they do this evolution thing. It's so outrageous, because nothing has a definition. Nothing is sure. Everything is fluid. It's existential. Strawberries do not exist. What do you mean? Strawberries do not exist. I've never seen a strawberry. I've never tasted a strawberry. I've never smelt a strawberry. I've taste, smell, touched. I've never touched a strawberry. Therefore, strawberries do not exist. That's existentialism. And we all know strawberries exist, right? So this, I would say, in silico world, oh, I saw it on TV. I saw it on the computer. I saw that COVID virus on the computer, but it was CGI. Oh, but I saw it. Okay. So this is kind of like the opposite. I saw that CGI image of COVID, therefore COVID exists. Wait a minute. I saw this doctor on TV say that it is contagious, therefore it is contagious. So there's no thinking. There's no there's no progression, and it leads to a lot of chaos. And in that chaos, people take advantage, and then you have corruption. And we see that our leadership is trying to fill our lives with total chaos, because they're trying to tell us that the world is the climate is getting bad, and we're going to be destroyed blah, 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 blah. But they don't care about what's going on in Ohio, right? They don't care. It takes them days and days, and they do not rally around Ohio. They do not rally around that town, Palestine, Ohio. They do not rally around it. They do not send, volunteers, anybody, the cleanup crew, the FEMA, everything right away. This is in the water. This is in the air. This goes into the food. This goes into our animals. This goes into the human population. And they don't care. They don't care. And yet they talk about, environment and climate and this and that. And they do not rally around clean water. They do not rally around clean air. They do not rally around clean food. Simple things. You can have copper tools into the ground. It cleans it up. Copper's amazing, y'all. Copper's really amazing. So, you can have a certain spiral, toroid, that will clean up water, right? And they don't want to look into it. All of that research has been done. An Austrian has done so much research for us, and we don't use it because they're not interested in us drinking clean water. They want us to drink contaminated, toxic water because it's big money to be sick. Okay? It's big money to be sick. And if we're sick, then we can't progress. So the survival of the fittest, the few that take over everything, is not progressive. It's very fluid. They want to change. That's why when you look at your politician and your politicians always flip-flopping and changing their mind, oh, it's all fluid. It's all, it's not a sure thing. It's not a sure thing. And I just thought that I needed to really let people know a little bit about what they have been trained to believe is progressive. Evolution is not progressive. Anything that is changing and chaotic and there's no order and there's no sovereignty, no law. There's no law. If you have, if you say that a giraffe somehow evolved, what evolved? Its neck, its heart. You can't have that long neck without a heart that can be strong and pump it. You can't have, all the different parts. It's just like when you look at a caterpillar. How did that happen? Right? It's just, it's not evolving. It's not like, oh, I've got to survive, therefore I have to grow wings. No, this caterpillar is a herbivore and eats, munches until it's really, really fat. And then it decides to build itself a coffin and kill itself. Because that's what happens to that caterpillar. It just dissolves. It dissolves. And everything, a miracle happens in that chrysalis. A miracle. Because it just reorganizes itself into a nectar drinking with wonderful eyesight. A caterpillar is blind. A butterfly has incredible eyesight. Everything, the whole digestive system is different. Everything about, if you compare a caterpillar to a butterfly, totally different. Totally different. The caterpillar absolutely builds a coffin and dies in it. That's the miracles that we have, right? The miracles that we see every day. And for some reason, we're so blinded by in silico, I saw it on TV or heard it in my classroom or I read it in this very boring book. You have to try to read this, or no, don't read it. Don't read it. Whatever. Don't read it. There's so many better books to read. Um, because this is not progressive. This is matter of fact, it'll make you mentally ill because it'll make you racist. It will make you foggy in your brain that you don't see the miracles around you that God has given us. And this has really damaged so many of us in our critical thinking ability, because we come from a place of evolution instead of from intelligent design, and instead of a sovereign God creating all things beautiful and wonderful and miraculously, right? And what does this have to do with Richard's case? Well, the CID, if there is a lot of people in there that are just grounded in evolution, you're not going to see things right. You're just not going to see things right. You're going to be like an MP that says, oh, well, they're not worth finding, so I'm going to sabotage the whole search. It makes people so judgmental, this survival of the fittest, this the preservation of favored races, the preservation of a favored person. Oh, I don't like Richard. He doesn't like child sex trafficking. He doesn't like child porn. He doesn't like raping children. He matter of fact, it makes him angry. So he's not a favored race. We need to get rid of him. He's not a favored person. I can't tell you how many people said, I just needed to go home. I just don't even need to look for him because he's a POS. And I'm like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? He is a missing soldier. He's a missing person. Besides being my son, he's a missing person. He is sure that it is kept. They like to make laws from the bench, I know, because we have been so evolutionized, so fluid. That's why we have the judge on the Supreme Court that doesn't even know what a woman is. If she doesn't know what a woman is, how does she know what the law is? How does she know what anything is? Because she lives in a total, fluid, existential world. And there is no justice in that. It's only crime. It's only crime. So Richard was not raised that way. He was raised in a sovereign God created this miraculous world, and he is part of it. God made him, and God made him wonderful. Now, does the nature of man have problems? Yeah, we're fallen. Our every thought is tainted. And so what do we need? We need grace. We need the Holy Spirit. We need the Word of God trained in our brain all the time, because we're going to make wrong decisions without it. We're going to make wrong decisions anyway, but we're going to make a lot of wrong decisions without it. Because God is sovereign creator, the sovereign creator, and so he knows how things work, because it's his machine. It's his creation. And we're hearing this same debate with this COVID hearing, that this was not conducive to the evolutionary development of a virus. Are you kidding me? You're so in silico. You're so in silico. Because we can't even find, look it up, go to Christine Massey. She deserves a huge award. Go to so many other doctors. I wanted to play Dr. Cowan's talk that I listened to early this morning. It was magnificent, because they're saying we have the purified, isolated, or I don't even know if they say purified, they say isolated COVID, SARS-CoV-2 virus, the virus, and then they tell you how they got it, and it is so toxic and so many procedures and so chopped up big time recipe that no way is it purified. No way. I mean, it's so insulting. It's so insulting that they fill us with this fake in silico science that they base on Darwin's fluidity, Darwin's law. I mean, there's no law. It's just chaos. So, and the entire way these scientists are trying to tell you, to convince you that they have a virus, is all through chaos, all through a soup of monkey brain. We got to put this on monkey brain and cow this and put it in this and stir it here and heat it here and add formaldehyde and and it's like, okay, all right, if I want to see my blood cell, I just put it underneath a live blood viewing microscope and I can see my blood. Viruses aren't that small. They're small enough to get through any kind of mask. We know that. Otherwise, you couldn't even breathe. But, and I shouldn't have even said that, because that's a narrative that doesn't even exist. It's in silico. It is a false narrative. Viruses don't even exist. We have no proof that a virus ever has existed. And it's so sad because I have seen so many animals get the cobra strike, all kinds of cobra strikes. I've seen babies on major schedules getting cobra strikes, all kinds of cobra strikes that are just so unnecessary. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, my baby has diabetes. Oh my gosh, my baby has HDAD. Oh my gosh, my baby has autism. Oh my gosh, my baby, and it's, the things aren't put together. You're sticking monkey brain and formaldehyde and aluminum and all that in a beautiful creation. And everything's supposed to be okay. I mean, this is all my view, but not all my view. This is well established. And our science based on Darwin, for the most part of it, it is trash because it starts on sand. And we need to build our houses, our intelligence, our thinking on rock, right? And who's the rock, right? Who's the rock? Jesus Christ is the rock. God is the rock. God the Father. I always call God the Father to explain who God the Father is to the children. He's the heavyweight champion of creation, the creator, heavyweight champion. He gives weight and time, the time, right? He gives weight. He gives time to everything. There is nothing without him. So, you pick up an apple, you have to pick up something that weighs something, right? With density, with form. And, that's how I describe him. And we always say, Jesus Christ. And I have to tell you, I come from the Trinity. The Trinity. This is my firm foundation, is the Trinity. And with that Trinity comes a whole host of councils of churches that have formulated the creeds, right? So you have the Trinity, you have the Bible, the Word of God, the law of God, unchanging, never changes. God never changes. God is not fluid. You can always depend on him. Always. God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Ghost. Always. And God is a God of order. Every word that proceeds from the mouth of God is law, is a law word. Not just the 10 Commandments. Every word. If he says the stars in their course fought against Sisera, he means it. He means it. And we've seen it. And we've seen it. If he says it's better for you to put a millstone around your neck and throw yourself into the abyss than to cause one of these little ones to stumble. People choose because they want to rape children. They choose to put the millstone around their neck and throw themselves in the abyss. Because let me tell you, that's the only place they are headed. Because God doesn't change. It is progressive. And if you're causing a little one to stumble, if you are raping a child, your direction, your progression is to that abyss, right? I wanted to say hell, but to that abyss with the millstone around your neck. That everything with God is progressive. We're going in a direction. And that's why when we've had the creeds, the Nicene Creed, the Apostles' Creed, the Athanasius Creed, when we've had those creeds and we are in multitude, when the multitude of people believe that, there's nothing stopping us. When we understand the Council of Chalcedon, when we understand the systematic direction of theology, where it has come from, where it is going, we're on such a sure foundation because God does not change, and he's a God of order and a God of justice and mercy and love and hope and integrity. Everything that the army dreams to be sometimes, but they're not. But they're not. And they don't train that way, and that's why they're failing. They're putting the millstone around their neck and they're falling into the abyss. And the problem with that is that our volunteer sons and daughters, our service members, get caught up in that, and they become victims of the evil that others are doing. And there's a lot of pain, a lot of mental stress, a lot of mental health issues, a lot of, the will to live becomes a huge problem. And so I want to talk about this. I think, no, not that one yet. Yeah, this right here. So, the Army has put out a referral program, and in the past, it would work. Hey, join the military. It's so great, or whatever. This time it hasn't worked because the abyss is so obvious. The millstone is so obvious. And it's cases like Richard Halliday. It's cases like Asia Graham. That's should be in the news. It's even more than that. It's cases like Austin Hawke and Vanessa Guillen and Gregory Morales. Like, oops, we thought that he was AWOL. We thought he was a deserter. He was a deserter. No, he was murdered. His remains were found right there. I think I got some word today that they're changing the name of Fort Hood or whatever, but it's not going to hide. It's not going to hide the crime. You can change your name all you want, and it's not going to hide the crime. And Fort Bliss, beautiful name, but it has become Vanity Fair, the city of Vanity Fair. Maybe that's what they need to name it, along with, Fort Bragg and Fort Hood. We should just have Vanity Fair, City of Vanity, installation of Vanity Fair 1, installation of Vanity Fair 2, installation of Vanity Fair 3, installation of Vanity Fair 4, right? Because all it is chaotic, secular, is that the right word? For cycle, secular, anyway, criminal activity going on. And we have the cycle of the barracks being the marketplace and the installation of illegal drugs, because they care so much about environment. They care so much about cleanliness, about the climate, blah, blah, blah. And what are they doing? Green lighting toxins being given to our most valuable assets, quote unquote, right? They are bringing in whores and prostitutes. I don't know the difference. What's the difference between a whore and a prostitute? I don't know. They're bringing that in. They're breaking up the family. They're absolutely, the number one enemy that they attack all the time is the Trinity. Okay? They don't want the Trinity. That's why they infiltrate the churches. That's why they really go after the Trinity and all the seminaries and all the discussion groups. They hate the Trinity because the Trinity is the answer, because God never changes. And and he answers the one and the many. The one and the many, the heavyweight, the councils, the creeds, everything that is so definitive, that is fact, that is reality, that we can depend on. And so this referral program is totally the result of a chaotic criminal military, that the word is out. The word is out. Who wants to join and be held hostage by these demons wearing our beautiful uniforms with 4 stars on it, servicing foreign and domestic enemies, and sending us to war to fight for them? See, that's and being totally surrounded in extortion, racketeering, marketplace for prostitution, marketplace for child sex trafficking, marketplace for child pornography production, sales, distribution, and airdropping. Who wants to be on a place where there is grooming into these sex cults, being told that sex our genders are fluid, and that they will pay to have your privates cut up and rearranged and everything like that, because you can change. You can change. It's such a lie. You're beautifully and wonderfully made, and you don't change. Can you repent? Can you serve God instead of demons? Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've heard so many people tell me, they're worshiping an owl. They're worshiping Satan. They're worshiping, and I'm like, yeah, right. I understand. I've ventured into Uh, anyway, that's a story in Ireland that I won't tell you now, but it was very interesting. But what do we worship? Who do we worship? What do we worship? What do we spend our time on? What do we spend our treasures on? What are our goals? How do we worship? How do we now live? I think that is what we should be asking. And see, when you have the Nicene Creed, the Apostles' Creed, the Athanasius Creed, when you have the Bible, when you have the councils of the churches that have debated back and forth on so many, who is Jesus Christ? Who is Jesus Christ? Fully man, fully God. Not to be confused, when you read through these this systematic theology that has been provided for us, and so many people have died for this message to be passed on. This is progression, right? That was There's a fantastic book right on my bookshelf right there. The Councils and Creeds of the Early Church, the Foundation of Social Order. The Foundation of Social Order. If you don't have that book by R.J. Rushdoony, oh, you should get it. It is amazing. Small little book. And I think I've mentioned it before on one of my live streams. And why am I talking about all this when this is about Richard Halliday? It's because we have 44 four-star generals. We have all kinds of technology where you have the cloud now. You have phones, you have cameras, you have this, you have that. But there's no progression. They should easily be able to figure this out and give us justice and tell us what happened to Richard, tell us where he is, and easily. But because things are in silico, because everything's criminal, because everything's fluid, everything is, look at the whole COVID mess. It's so fluid. Oh, it was something created in a lab that's, wasn't evolutionary. It was created, to make it stronger, to make it more deadly, and I'm like, I think the whole reaction was what was deadly. And of course, the real demons are the tests. The tests to tell people that are asymptomatic that they have something. Really? I feel good. I could run a marathon right now. Oh no, but you are sick. You're sick. You need to shelter. You need to get out of that sunshine that's making you feel so good, because we want you sick so you can come back and we can do this to you and do this to you and do this to you. But I feel good. No, the test says you're sick. Whoever, I just, it's so evil you can't even put your finger on how to say it. So, So we were told that the father-in-law that walks into the Dollar General, we didn't know he was a father-in-law. We just knew he was like a 60-year-old man. 60-year-old man with vim and vigor. He had all that hand action. He's Palestinian, so he has this way of talking with hands and, really nice accent. And comes into the Dollar General and says that he's with the FBI. Well, so who's to argue with that? Because we have not gotten a statement from the FBI to tell us he is not an FBI informant. And there's a lot of them, y'all. There are so many FBI informants. Go look up how many FBI informants are, how much the FBI has spent on FBI informants. And I'm sure there were a lot of FBI informants there at January 6th too. Not hundreds of thousands, but a lot of them. Enough to cause trouble. So that's my opinion, because the people that I was there with, the people that I met that were there as patriots, and there were thousands. I talked to so many, y'all. Talked to so many. Um, they were cold. They were waiting. They were there to support President Trump. They were there to support Vice President Pence in making the right decision. And he didn't. And they were really disappointed. Not disappointed enough to, there was no weapons. There was no like mega charge on the Capitol, because there were hundreds of thousands of people there, y'all. Count the number of people that they kind of showed. Okay, so it's 100 or 200, right? We had hundreds of thousands of people, and no security? Tear gas? No porta potties? No preparation? No, we were called the night before, contacted the night before to tell us not to go by a general. So they knew. They were going to stir up trouble. They were up to no good. This was very interesting too. They're up to no good. When I see a service secretary multiple lie to Congress, then I see a unit forced to give false reporting on the status of their equipment. It makes me question everything. How can we accurately plan for contingencies when everyone is playing make-believe? Right there, Darwin. Make-believe. It takes so much more to believe in Darwin that chicken turned into, or what, that the dinosaurs turned into chickens. I think that's what it is. It's just so make-believe, so childish, and so chaotic, and so fluid, and ever-changing. And people always like, I want change. I want change. No, why don't you say, I want stability? I want law. I want stable law. I don't want all these new laws all the time. Why do we need all these new laws all the time? Get the heck out of D.C., representatives. Stop making law. They were never supposed to make law, They were supposed to make sure that the law, the Ten Commandments, and all of the case laws in the Bible were properly understood and carried out. That's what their job was there for, not to make law. Oh, this is how a bill is made. They have buildings and buildings and buildings and buildings upon laws because everything is Darwinistic. Everything is fluid. Nothing is stable. And because of that, they all have to play games because everything turns corrupt. Everything becomes a crime. And then they have to make believe numbers, because everything's fluid. Maybe someday it'll be that way, everything is changing. Everything. No, why can't we say we want stability? We want stability in the markets. We want stability in our economy. We want stability in our military. We want stability in our families. We want stability in the justice system. We want stability on the borders. We want stability. Danny goes on to say, this is how the military teaches officers to lie. I've said it for years. It's actually an insider's joke. In the military, everyone on staff knows that you don't report real numbers. That's how you incur the wrath of the man, the next higher commander. It's okay to report some things at less than 100%, but you quickly follow with a plan of action on how you're going to bring those numbers up. Platoon leaders are taught this very early on. The fact is, there is absolutely no way to fix all of the training and equipment deficiencies in the military to get them to an acceptable level. But if you don't want a general or admiral breathing down your neck, you tell them what they want to hear so they don't have a congressperson breathing down theirs. They don't. They don't. They don't have a congressperson breathing down their neck. Sorry. I don't agree with them there. That's all a show. Because you have the Secretary of the Army flipping off a sitting senator 23 ranks higher than she is. They're not afraid. And so the saga of ethics and integrity falling to the wayside goes, and we keep two separate trackers, one for eternal use, and then a separate one all done up with the green in every category to satisfy the people trying to get their next promotion or the next higher seat at the table. No progression, just lies. No progression. No army ready. No military ready. Lies. Make believe. Which becomes lies, becomes corruption. Corruption becomes a criminal syndicate. So all this calling out for change. This was Elon Musk. After just-in censored video reemerges of Jacob Chansley reading Trump's tweet telling protesters to go home and remain peaceful. You won't see this on CNN. Free Jacob Chansley. Absolutely. And I was saying that ever since I went there. The day that I went there, I gave a live stream. You can watch it. And what that commission that spent a lot of our money to hide this video he's a veteran. To kick this veteran in the teeth and send him to jail for 4 years for saying, go home and be peaceful. But wait a minute, I was shepherded through the Capitol by the Capitol Police. It's just really a crazy example of the chaos, this secular, is that the right word? That Darwin puts us in, where we're like hamsters running on that wheel, and there's no progression, y'all. None. And that's why my daughter is married to a South Korean, and Rob went to South Korea while he was in the military when he was young years ago. My dad went when we went over there to meet his family, and then for the wedding, and then for our grandchild's birth and baptism. And we've been over there so many times. We're so amazed because pray for them. It's their time has come too, where the progression is going to be hard got. But they have changed in 20 years. Bounds and leaps ahead. It's amazing. Their transportation system, and I'm sure it's a smaller country, but we're wealthy and we're so established, and yet we're just $32 trillion in debt, going up all the time. I probably can't keep up with it because it's so fluid. You can't depend on it. It's changing all the time. I don't want change. I want stability. I want to keep to a budget, right? And I love God's budget. When you look at God's budget, how he tells you to budget. It's so amazing. So amazing. Anyway, um yeah, we need to get back to that because it's stability. It's freedom. It's progression. So in Richard's case, we have had on our side progression. We got a new CAO today. This is probably our 5th CAO, Casualty Affairs Officer. And a major this time. Wow. Wow. So, but he asked, well, I haven't gotten any updates at all. And I said, really? Well, we've given a lot of updates. We've given a lot of updates. And my husband did the rest of the phone call. But we've been progressing. We have gotten new information. We have gotten new leaks. We have gotten CID case file number and an FBI case file number showing people involved in this case, involved in child sex trafficking, child sex pornography reports that need to be maybe they've been looked at, maybe they've been investigated, I don't know. But I was told about them. But the big thing that this proves is that they had those numbers, and those numbers are not easy got. So where was the leak? This proves the leak. This proves that there's a need to move Richard's file to a different investigative agency. It needs to get out of the CID because we have active duty, not now, but at the time, active duty, special agent, CID, Tavita Nusa, leaking to active duty Leilani Hart with an active duty First Lieutenant Dallas Hart and Richard's active duty, all under Major General Clem Coward. He has a lot of explaining to do, and he's now retired. Why can't he explain some things, right? Because he continuously and severely retaliated against Richard groundlessly, really groundlessly. You can do that with a GOMAR. You don't really have to have a good reason or anything. So maybe it's he didn't like Richard going to the Child Protective Services and turning in child sex porn videos. So this is, we have progressed. We understand what's going on. We have evidence of what we're saying. We have kept a record. So much. Oh my gosh, I've kept several records, different places. So, because, when you're being attacked, when you're having asymmetric warfare tactics used against you, when you're having military operations being used against you, when you have others, who knows, are they FBI informants? Are they political hacks when they're sending you vile and vulgar messages? And finally, you trace their burner phones, and one leads to a very, very, very important government building. I'm even a little bit hesitant to say it because I don't know if people would believe me. I don't know. It's that astonishing. And when you have the father-in-law of Lieutenant Colonel Bugado of the G3 saying he's with the FBI and that the FBI found Richard's remains in Juarez, Mexico, and you're like, what? And so you call your contact there at the Department of State there in Juarez, and he's like, oh yeah, they were looking for him. These places, and he tells us the places, 3 of the 5. So, yeah, And that's just the tip of the iceberg on this whole case. It's for them, they're in chaos. They're in crime. They have committed crimes against humanity. They've committed crimes against us. They've committed crimes against Richard. They're in total chaos. They're in that wheel, spinning their feet. There's no progression because they can't. They don't have anything stable. They're all trying to survive, the survival of the fittest. And there's no faith that God has the answers. They don't have to have every answer. They just need to do what's right. They just need to do what's right in that stability, in that justice, in that investigation. In the military, they just need to do what's right. And that is how the stars in their course fight against Sisera, right? Fought against Sisera, destroyed him. So, because of this chaos, now we have new information that people are turning on each other. In this case, people are turning on each other. I guess $150,000 is a lot of money, especially when you're threatened with these big taxes right now, when you're in this fluid world where you can lose your job. There's no stability. There's no family to turn to because the family's been so hit so hard and everyone's just trying to survive, and everybody's trying to find a way to make their mental health healthy again, to make their sick body healthy again, because of the lack of sunshine and the lack of clean water and the lack of clean food and the lack of clean air. The stress that what that plays on the body. It's just survival of the fittest. And then you wonder, why is that person turning on me? Why is that person not faithful? Why, it's all fluid. It all changes. I loved you yesterday, but today I got a new love. I was going to take care of you forever, but that forever lasted 17 hours. Yeah. So this is why you're going to hear people turning on each other now. And I never wanted that. I never wanted that. I wanted people to rally around Richard. Tell us what happened. Tell us where Richard is. And then have justice. But people are afraid of justice. Because our justice is so fluid. Our justice is so unjust. Our justice system being unjust, they'd probably get off because child sex trafficking, it seems to be so prevalent. Nobody wants to punish anybody for it, right? Child sex trafficking, child pornography, it seems to be such a big deal, such a big moneymaker. They don't want to punish anyone for it. You can have an island and a really great jet plane and fly people in and have all kinds of child trafficking and child pornography and rapes and everything, and no one wants to get to the bottom of it. No one wants any justice. No one gets punished for it. Yeah, that's so. So we'll see. So it can get ugly. I just want to let people know that that's not what I wanted. I wanted a stable military. I wanted a true military with leaders that were loyal and respectful, that had personal courage and honor and integrity, and selfless service. That's what I wanted. That would rally around Richard because they have an obligation, a legal obligation to care for him, but a moral obligation that they would honor. And that they would show every last service member that this is awful, that they would have Richard VI, that they would get to the bottom of it, that they would give the family back Richard. And if they would have done that, I guarantee you the recruiting numbers would have been higher. But because they are demons, because they are criminals, because they lockstep to hijacking our Department of Defense and using our money, our fluid money, but our money, to take hostage every last service member, whether they know it or not, psychologically mess with them, physically mess with them, use them and abuse them. No justice, continuous severe retaliation instead of any kind of recourse. No, who wants to join to serve foreign and domestic enemies? Right? The enemy. That's who they're probably recruiting, because we got it now. We understand what's going on. But my position is we need to get our military back. That's our military. Those are our military installations. And every one of those 44 demons that are wearing our uniforms with the 4 stars need to get out. They need to be investigated. They need to be audited. We need justice. We need stability. We need to offer our volunteer sons and daughters stability, justice, integrity, honor, being true to the red, white, and blue, defending the Constitution, the land, and the people. And let me tell you, when we get our military back, and we do that, we're not going to have a recruiting problem. We're not going to have a training problem of lies, training of lies, training of grooming to sex cults, a fluidity in gender as what? Barracks of rape, of marketplaces of illegal drugs, and, all kinds of nonsense when it comes to human trafficking, child sex porn, and all that stuff. Frat parties every day, alcohol. And so I wanted to play this at the end again. I played it yesterday. I thought it was really good. As to tell people that everything I say, I try to back up. So here's the soldier. Yeah. From Fort Bliss. He goes and fights for Ukraine, becomes a Ukrainian.
John came prepared. For years, he served in the U.S. military.
1st Armored Division. It was hot out there. It was at Fort Bliss, Texas.
How long were you in the military?
He looks really young in that recruiting picture.
Yeah.
When he got there.
2 years and a month. Huh?
Good years or?
No, not really. Not really. A lot of drinking,
In the Army?
Oh, yeah, of course. Normal, standard practice, of course.
Really?
Standard
Yeah, of course.
operating
On base?
procedure.
Yeah. Cocaine, everything. Weed, anything you want, Prostitutes, hookers, everything.
On base?
Yeah, they arrested one guy. He was a cavalry scout, and he, in his barracks room, he had like bricks of cocaine. He was like
a dealer.
Yeah, he was like the distributor for the whole base.
But all that training in Texas, it didn't prepare him for this.
Okay, I'm going to interject on this one because I can already hear it. Oh my God, that doesn't happen. Okay, yes, it does. And if you're honest with yourselves,
Thank you, Mandy.
every one of you will remember the articles that came out of the gang problem that they had. And if you're honest with yourselves, you remember that there are a couple of bases with an extremely high murder rate that they think a serial killer lives there. So let's not fool
I
ourselves.
think that's Fort Bragg, right? I don't know. So, yeah, I think that's well worth it. I hope all that makes sense because we're, like I told you, we're hearing reports that people are starting to turn on each other, and it's just chaotic. And that chaos doesn't come from God, okay? It doesn't come from God. All right. Sure, I turn this down. Oh my gosh, 56 comments. Wow, Fort Bliss. And it's not showing top comments. Jerry Sturgill, Fort Bliss, find your missing heroes. Thank you so much. Let's say his name. Let's keep his face out there. Thank you until he is found. Thank you so much. Let's see. I'm trying to find them. Okay. One gets paid and the other doesn't. Kentucky, USA. Let's see, Ted Cruz, Fox News, Obama, video lost signal for a bit. El Paso Strong, let's get U.S. Army soldier Richard Halliday found. Thank you so much, Kat. Miracles need done now. Get Richard Halliday found. Exactly. President Trump, yes. Fort Bliss, find your missing heroes. And that, everyone, let's say his name. Absolutely. Thank you. It doesn't let me, I don't know. But I just want to say thank you so much. We really appreciate all of that. And we need more of it, even though I can't keep up with it. And I just have to trust God that He is just progressing this forward. This is moving forward. And it has been. And so we have not heard back from the authorities about our requests, about our breakthrough. They have not gotten back. Richard is not a cold case. A lot of things are happening behind the scenes. And because, do not think nothing is going on because they haven't answered us. Us having that CID number, us having that FBI number, us knowing, putting things together even more than what I've told y'all, they're moving. They're doing things. And I guess that's why we got a CAO today. I don't know. That was a quick phone call. But we need to always have, I guess, a CAO. I don't know. I don't know how all that works. Maybe somebody out there knows and can let me know. But I'm sure my husband can explain it to me. I haven't wanted to face that. The casualty affairs officer. And I know the first one that we had, didn't understand that that's not a fun thing. So, yeah, let's keep Richard's name out there. And let's keep praying. And let's see if we can move forward even more. We're very close. So, thank you all. God bless you. I don't know how much time it's going to take because I don't know. I don't know who is out there that wants stability, that wants our country, that wants our military to be a true Department of Defense. Right now, it's hijacked and in in the hands of those that are serving foreign and domestic enemies, those that want to destroy our military, those that want to destroy our soldiers, those that want to torture our soldiers. They're torturing them with all these lies and turning them into lies and grooming them, and oh my gosh, putting them through training that is so insane, absolutely insane. Please pray that Lindsey Graham does not get his way, because we are not prepared right now to go to any war, okay? We are not prepared to have a war. We need to do whatever needs to be done to be at peace. The people of these United States, the regular person, is more prepared for war than our military. They're more able to fight for this country than our military at this point. We need to be the Department of Defense for our most valuable assets, our volunteer sons and daughters. We need to be there for them. They need us. Our service members need us right now because they're being held hostage. And it goes to the top. And do not believe for 1 minute, and I'm going to tell Danny this, do not believe for 1 minute that those demons wearing our beautiful uniforms with 4 stars on it, 44 of them, I don't know why we're so top heavy and bloated, but why they don't believe that they fear anybody in Washington, D.C. They don't. They don't. And I'm talking about representatives, senators. No, they serve a foreign and domestic enemy that is, it would be very interesting to know who they are. So, God bless you. Keep praying. And we need to get our defense back. We need to get our soldiers who are being held hostage freed. We need to get them freed. So God bless you. And I will be back tomorrow, God willing.